Peterbot, who's widely considered the best player in Fortnite right now, uses some of the strangest keybinds you'll ever see, and yet somehow turns them into pure mechanical mastery that most players couldn't even imagine replicating. He's got a setup that looks almost random to anyone else, but for him, it's completely natural and unbelievably efficient. Then there's Chimp, another top-tier pro who somehow manages to make mouse wheel down for wall and mouse wheel up for stairs actually work. And not just work, but help him earn over $80,000 in tournament winnings. It's one of those setups that makes no sense until you watch him build, edit, and reset faster than most people can blink, and that's when it hits you. These players aren't just good. They're redefining what's possible with keybinds, so to figure out what separates them from the rest, I went ahead and analyzed the keybinds of the top 50 Fortnite players in the world, breaking down everything, from wall to floor to stair to roof and edit binds, to find out exactly what trends exist and what strange personal preferences pros have developed over time. And the results are honestly fascinating. Starting off with the wall binds, the most popular. Choice among pros is mouse button 5, used by 38% of players. That's because it gives them instant thumb access without interfering with their movement keys. Right behind it, though, is Q, which is still holding strong with 34% of pros using it as their main wall bind for floors. The numbers shift quite a bit. X takes the top spot with 22%, while C sits at 12%, showing that players like to keep their building keys close, but not overlapping. Now for stairs, mouse button 4 completely dominates the category chosen by 32% of players because it allows for insanely quick placement without lifting any crucial fingers off movement keys. For the roof binds, things get a little more diverse. Left shift is the favorite here, used by 28% of pros, followed by C and V, which both appear consistently across setups, and finally we've got the edit binds where one key stands above everything else. F, it's used by a massive 52% of pros, making it the single most popular edit key in the entire competitive scene, followed by A and G, both tied for second at 20%. What's interesting about these numbers is how they show that while there are certain trends in pro play, there's also a massive amount of individuality in how players choose to map their controls. Next, I wanted to figure out what the most common complete keybind set was across all pros. And from the data, that appears to be mouse button 5 for wall, V for floor, mouse button 4 for stairs, left shift for roof, and F for edit. But here's the surprising part. Only 4% of pros share this exact setup, meaning that 96% of the top players in the world all use completely unique combinations. It's wild because you'd think there would be a clear formula by now, a meta that everyone follows. But no, Fortnite pros are all about what feels most natural to them, and that individuality is what creates their mechanical edge. Take Peterbot. For example, his setup is TYFV and G5 keys that almost no other pro would consider optimal. But for him, they create a perfect rhythm, a balance that allows him to chain builds, edits, and weapon swaps seamlessly, without overextending a single finger. Then you've got someone like Mongrail, who's famous for his raw mechanical speed. His keybinds are almost entirely on the mouse. He uses mouse button 5, his DPI button, mouse button 4 left shift, and F. It's an incredibly tight setup where every movement is micro-efficient and perfectly tuned to his muscle memory. This just goes to show that keybinds aren't about copying what's meta, they're about building what fits, your own flow and comfort. I also noticed some fascinating trends while studying all these binds, and 2 of them stood out. The most, both involve using the scroll wheel alongside traditional keys. The first one is binding scroll wheel up or down to the use key. So that pros can loot faster when landing off spawn, they simply flick the wheel instead of pressing a key and instantly pick up weapons or items faster than their opponents. That micro advantage can literally decide fights in early game chaos. The second scroll wheel trick involves editing. Many pros bind the opposite scroll direction to reset edits instantly. Instead of manually clicking, they just scroll and reset in less than a second. It's one of the fastest and cleanest tricks in the game, and once you start using it, you realize how much time it saves across every single build fight. Now, if we talk about what actually makes keybinds optimal, it comes down to 3 major factors: efficiency, comfort, and minimizing movement between actions. The best setups strike a perfect balance between those 3. Take Polo. For example, his binds are a masterclass in functional design. Everything he needs is within natural reach without overloading any single finger. Uses mouse buttons for wall and floor, and keeps crucial keys like F and Q easily accessible, which makes his setup not only efficient but comfortable and sustainable over long play sessions. Comfort is underrated because fatigue and strain affect your precision, especially in fast-paced tournaments. By minimizing finger movement, Polo ensures that his inputs stay consistent even in high-pressure endgames. Another key aspect is minimizing unnecessary motion, and he achieves that by placing his edit key A close to his use key G, and pairing that with mouse wheel up for fast looting. It's clean, smooth, and reactive, but even with such well-balanced setups, there's no one-size-fits-all. Peterbot's keybinds, for instance, might look chaotic on paper, but when you study them closely, they're actually incredibly logical for his playstyle. His use of T and Y might seem strange, but those exact positions allow him to build edit and weapon swap while keeping full directional control. Over his character, he's able to move freely while editing, which gives him that signature flow that makes his mechanics so mesmerizing to watch. So while his setup might not be considered textbook optimal, it's perfectly optimized for him, and that's the point. Keybinds should evolve around how you play, not the other way around. After years of practice, repetition, and muscle memory, Peterbot's keys have essentially become an extension of his hands, and that's what makes them so deadly effective. Even if from the outside they look awkward and inefficient at first glance, it's that extreme personal adaptation that separates pros from average players, because they've reached a point where their binds are not just inputs, they're instincts. Every action is hardwired into their reflexes. So even something that seems random is actually deliberate and precise. So if you're someone trying to refine your own setup, the best approach isn't to copy a pro blindly, but to study the patterns, understand why their binds work for them, and then apply those lessons to create your own variation. For example, if you notice that most pros keep wall and stairs on their mouse, it's probably because that positioning gives faster reaction time and frees up the keyboard hand for edits and weapon swaps. Similarly, if you see that most have F for edit and G or A nearby for confirmation, it's because those are in the natural resting zone of the left hand, making it quicker and easier to access without repositioning fingers too much. So when you're building your own keybinds, take note of those common choices but adapt them to your own comfort zone, because what's efficient for Peterbot or Mongrel might not be efficient for you, but understanding their logic will guide you towards something that fits your hands, your reaction patterns, and your play style. And that's ultimately what matters the most, because once you're comfortable, your mechanics naturally improve. Consistency follows, and over time you'll find that your builds, edits, and shots all sync together much more smoothly. Now, if we look back at everything, the data, the player examples, and the overall trends, it's clear that the best pros don't chase what's popular, they chase what works for them. And that's what truly defines their gameplay. Peterbot's strange keybinds might look confusing to an outsider, but they're a direct reflection of his evolution as a player. Years of practice molded them into what they are today, and that's why he continues to dominate consistently. So while it's tempting to just copy the top players, remember that what makes them great isn't the keys themselves, but the precision and comfort they've built around those keys, and that's something only you can create for yourself. So yeah, that's the breakdown of the strange, fascinating, and incredibly personal world of Fortnite Pro keybinds. If you're looking to refine your setup, I'd say start with inspiration from these pros. Look at what the majority are using, understand the reasoning behind their decisions, and then build from there. Test, experiment, and adapt until you find what's the most efficient, comfortable, and natural for you. That's how you'll end up creating something truly optimal. And once you've got that muscle memory locked in, everything else in your gameplay becomes faster, smoother, and more consistent. If this breakdown helped you out, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more competitive Fortnite insights. And before you head out, check out the other videos on screen right now to keep learning from the best in the game.